Good morning. I'm Lindsay Bridges from Charlotte Center for Mindfulness, and I'm glad you are here. Whether you are meditating with us live this morning or listening to this recording later, Charlotte Center for Mindfulness, we are grateful to be practicing together. And I'm going to say a quick good morning to Lakshmi and Diane and Alan. Glad that y'all are here. And we're going to start this morning with meditation, standing practice. If standing practice feels good for you, finding some posture to do that. If you prefer to stay sitting or even lying down, find what posture best supports your body for beginning with our meditation practice this morning. So if standing, coming into a mountain pose, allowing the energy to drop all the way through the body, right down to the bottoms of the feet. The knees are soft, the tailbone's lightly tucked. And if you want, you can even bring your hands in front of your heart. Do this as a gesture of respect. Respect inward, respect outward. To the world that lives within here, to the world all around and everywhere. Willingness to greet and meet this moment. So with mountain meditation, where I start all of my standing practices, really allow an energetic awakening. Gravity is such a help with this. Feeling gravity interacting with every cell of the body, rooting our mountain deep down through the whole of the earth. And it's interesting, once we start noticing that groundedness, that rootedness, there's this natural uplift of energy, counterbalance. It lifts right through the feet, the ankles, the knees, the legs, the hips, right up through the spine and the neck, and out the back of the top of the head. Mountain rooted down and lifting skyward. So for this morning, we're going to practice with a sequence I learned from Nancy Nicholson. She called this 6 postures of the spine. To begin, we offer a breath in, breathe out. And the next in-breath, scoop it up. And out-breath, release. As you do this, the in-breath, scooping high, out-breath, releasing, letting go down. See what it's like to let your whole awareness come to the movement. Even if your eyes are open, allow the gaze to be directed inside the body, seeing with your eyes. The reach, feeling with the whole body, and letting go. One more. And release. Offer a moment to just pause, feel into a little bit of awakening of energy in the body, moving, just that simple morning stretch to begin with. The next in-breath, reach high. And this time on the out-breath, the hips go one way, the arms reach out to the other side. In-breath, back to midline. Out-breath, opening up, stretching wide in the other way. And for this one, encourage you to let your awareness explore what feels good. Not how do I do the movement right? What does the body want? Maybe it wants a little bit of extra movement to go with it. You can explore that if you wish. What feels good? Is it smaller movement? Bigger? Last one. And release. Pulse into the body now. Notice your relationship with moving your body. Is there some intellectual idea of should that guides the movements? Or is there this deep sinking in to the body, mind, and heart, listening, exploring, curious about opening to movement that nourishes? So the next one in this series, the hands come into front of the heart. Breathe in, release, bringing all of that exploration to opening the arms wide, breathing in, folding, breathing out. Does the body want really big, exaggerated movements? Or does it want small and subtle? How attuned is your consciousness to what nourishes, nurtures, supports the body? Or is there part of that very Western notion of no pain, no gain, do it right, strive? Really letting this last one of this sequence be an exploration, aware and feeling the movement. Feeling in for that nurturing quality and release. Next one, the last one in the sequence, the feet open up just a little more. And the arms start by one hip. In breath, you scoop high. Out breath, release. Bringing all of your curiosity, linking mind, body, and heart with awareness. Last one. Release. Other side. Last one. And release. And I invite you to just shake it out. Whatever energy is left in the body that would appreciate some discharge, some release. Exploring doing that. And then coming back to stillness. Back in the mountain pose. Notice whatever's changed in your body. There are new waves of energy. Maybe there's a sense of enlivening, tingling. Maybe there was someone you strained with that, and you're aware of that. Opening with compassion. There's not one particular thing you're supposed to notice. About can you notice what's here right now for you? And bringing our meditation back into a sitting position. Taking your time with finding a posture that best supports your body. And in that same way, we open with awareness in the mountain pose with standing. Bring that same opening, grounding with a mountain posture. You can do this with sitting. So the lower part of the body becomes that mountain base, rooted down into the ground. You might notice how connecting with that strong base allows a certain kind of energy to lift right through the spine, the neck, out the back of the top of the head. Breathing, living mountain. So from this place of using the connection with the earth as our grounding, what is it like to open up with a compassionate curiosity to whatever's present inside? Kind of the weather. What's the weather like on the inside? And the weather includes if there are any thought storms going on, distractions, pulling awareness this way and that, charged energy in the body. Sometimes it's physical discomforts, pains, emotional. Sometimes it's settling. It's really connecting with breath, body, mind, and heart. The weather is actually not personal. It's just what's happening in this moment. There is this possibility of opening up to it. The wise, compassionate awareness that gets it's like this right now. And offering it a breath in and out, ventilating the whole internal world of the body. Whatever's here. And noticing how the breath is literally, physically connected with the whole world beyond the body. This morning, I'm going to invite us to explore grounding our awareness through the elements of the body. This doesn't speak to you, allowing yourself to follow whatever practice makes good sense for meeting this mind, body, and heart. If you're curious about the elements of the body, earth, wind, fire, water, beginning to get curious about these elements and their presence right now in this body. And it's so easy for our Western minds to skip over the physical reality of these elements in the body and associate with earth, wind, fire, water as poetic or metaphorical. And I don't mean it in that way at all. I mean it in a very real physical sense. Earth element, that's what we're opening up to with the mountain. Anytime we invite the strength and the rootedness of the mountain, connecting to the earth element in this body. So the earth element comes in the form of the food we eat. Food is obviously transformed stuff of the earth, transformed in conjunction with sun, air, water. We are literally bringing earth into our bodies. Every bite that we eat, we have to be sustained by this throughout our life, a constant interaction with the ground, with the earth itself. Through nourishment of the body with food. We can feel into this physicality of earth in our body, right through connection with gravity. It is essentially earth calling to earth, earth connecting to earth. The cells of the body, the physical substance of the cells interacting, the home refuge, the whole of the planet. Exploring earth element. Whatever way that feels accessible to you. Using gravity, this felt sensation in the body, to help yourself wake up to the living, breathing earth that is you, connecting right down to the earth below. Fire element. You can make this as scientific as you want, feeling into sunlight, literally light from the sun, transformed into usable energy, manifesting right now in this body. There's no element of energy that is moving present in this body right now that is not directly related to light that traveled the 9 minutes it takes the speed of light to travel from the sun to this earth, transformed again by the food we eat, into usable energy forms brought into the body. The felt sensation, the physicality of fire element is waking up to the living energy in the body, the movement of energy in the body. Of course, with this meditation, like any meditations, our minds often bounce off here and there and everywhere. It's never a problem. And what's helpful to know how to do to reground, recenter over and over. And in this meditation, we invite these four elements of life to be our ground, to wake us up to the interconnectivity, these body, mind, hearts that we take as somehow functioning independently. When, as one bioscientist said, independence is a political term, not a scientific term. It doesn't exist scientifically. We are interwoven at every level. We can use these four elements to reground, reconnect into that deeper wisdom. Fire element, sunlight, manifesting in our bodies right now. Wind. Wind element is obviously the breath. This intimate connection, the air around us that both sustains us and we contribute to. Every in-breath, a fresh new life, new sustenance. Every out-breath, a contributing to the continuation of earth air, joining in all bits of life that participate in respiration. Now, in different forms, you use different qualities of it. We actually interact together right here with this breath, this out breath. We are co-creating the air that we all live by. Exploring wind element right through the breath, through noticing how the breath interacts with this shared breath from all life, all bits of life that participate in respiration, the atmosphere. Our science sometimes can become so mechanical that we forget to understand the spiritual elements of this fact of being alive and participating in transforming elements of earth, air, water, and fire. Let yourself feel into air element, its deepest mystery. We know a lot about it. And there's so much more beyond our understanding. opening to physicality and mystery of breath and air. And water element. We know our bodies are primarily water, spread somewhere between 60 and 70% water. It's interesting how water moves through life. It's left out on those water cycle charts. They show water being absorbed into the clouds from the oceans, raining down on the mountains, moving through streams, rivers, and back out to the ocean. And leave out how that water cycle is also moving right through our own bodies, through all bodies of life on earth. Water is at our root. We are part of the water cycle, and you can feel it in the body right now. I can feel my heartbeat. I know that that is literally swishing the water through all of my body, in and out of every cell. Respiration, we often don't think about how respiration actually also involves water exchange in and out of the body. Exploring water element. Exploring the softness of water element. Knowing this soft strength. Capable of washing clean, wearing away anything that needs time and patience. The logic of love, surrender. If you cannot surrender yourself to the process of life, you are like a stream arguing with a rock. Do you think a river comes up to a rock and spends all of its time trying to move it? Of course not. The stream encompasses the rock. The rock becomes a feature of the stream. In time, the rock becomes smooth and all of its edges polished. The radiance in its structure is revealed. How is it useful for you to understand, not think about, but to open up to water element within you? And in these last couple of minutes of this meditation, I invite you to explore any of the elements speaks to you in this moment. Connecting to the physicality, the real felt sense. Earth, wind, fire, water. This mysterious interweaving of these elements. Become this life form, ever changing, ever interacting, part of the whole. Breathing in, breathing out. Kind of sweet to see more of you here. Good morning to Beverly and Terry, Nancy, Maureen, Emily, and George. Glad that you all are here, and whoever else is here too. If we were able to be in person right now, we would be doing this greeting of each other and sharing a gratitude. So if you'd like to write something in the chat, a gratitude or a greeting, please feel free. It's lovely to connect in whatever way we can. And I'll share a gratitude. Last night when I did the live stream, I found myself sharing this meditation on the four elements. Not something I actually had planned to do. It's a meditation I do regularly, and just found myself sharing it. And I wondered whether I would this morning again, and I did. And I don't know if that was useful for you or not. Um, but for me, it's one of my most grounding practices. And I appreciated offering that for you all. So we have Emily saying, grateful for movement and mobility. And Maureen, grateful for the elements. Yeah, thank you. So, my sharing today comes from the book, The Four Agreements. Through my work with the Mecklenburg County Detention Center, one organization that I always keep in touch with is the Prison Mindfulness Institute. Profoundly beautiful organization that does remarkable work. So if you have any curiosity about what they offer, I highly encourage you to look them up. A recent email that they sent included a quote from one participant from one of their programs who named how instrumental the book, The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, was for them in learning a new relationship with life. And this wasn't actually the first time I'd heard this book referred to from this organization. So it finally inspired me to go to buy the book for myself and read it. It's a powerful book. And one piece that I really want to share this morning is about how it relates the fundamental importance of self-acceptance with having a relationship, a healthy relationship with life. So these four agreements, they are to 1, be impeccable with your word. 2, don't take anything personally. 3, don't make assumptions. 4, always do your best. So for today, I really want to look at how self-acceptance relates to that first agreement. Be impeccable with your word. On the surface of things, be impeccable with your word may not seem immediately related to self-acceptance. But in Ruiz's way of understanding this agreement, it absolutely is. And to get this, the first thing you need to understand is what Ruiz means by our word. So our word for him includes not just our spoken words, but all of our unspoken words as well. It includes whatever we allow to have traction in our awareness. And this is because it's right through what words we allow to have traction for us that we have the power to create. That bit is worth contemplating just a bit. What he's pointing to is that we are ever creating the world we live in. right through our choices of how we interact with ourselves and how we interact with everyone and everything around us. And the words we use, either internally or externally, directly point to what kind of choices we are making in these interactions. If we accept or give power to words that are punitive, judgmental, harsh, hurtful, then we are actively creating a world that is punitive, harsh, judgmental, hurtful to live in. If instead we are choosing words from a wise understanding, from a strong, compassionate heart, then we are actively creating a world of deeper wisdom and kindness. So Ruiz says, it is through the word that you manifest everything. Your intent manifests through the word. What you dream, what you feel, what you really are, will all be manifested through the word. This is true for the word directed inward or directed outward. And I'm just going to say from my own experience that it really is not just, our minds create all sorts of things. It's not what's just popping in our mind, it's what we are attaching to, what we are giving traction to. That is where the power, the creation is coming from. And so in this way, he says, depending upon how it is used, the word can set you free, or it can enslave you even more than you know. Misuse of the word in his terms creates a living hell. Being impeccable with the word, meaning being absolutely clear on using it for good, creates beauty, love, and heaven on earth. So through this lens, it's easy to see how clear, how important the words we use are towards the words, how important the words we use towards ourselves, how important that is. If we are agreeing to being impeccable with our words, meaning only using words for good, then we're making an agreement with ourselves to take infinite care not to use words against ourselves. That's kind of a strong, radical idea to sit with. If we are agreeing to be impeccable with our words, meaning only using them for good, then we're making an agreement with ourselves to take infinite care not to use words against ourselves. He uses very strong language to describe this. He goes right to the root of the word impeccable, which means without sin. The word sin can carry a lot of baggage in our culture, so it's important to understand what he means by this word. He says, a sin is anything you do which goes against yourself. Everything you feel or believe or say that goes against yourself is a sin. You go against yourself when you judge or blame yourself for anything. Being without sin is exactly the opposite. Being impeccable is not going against yourself. When you are impeccable, you take responsibility for your actions, but you don't judge or blame yourself. If we can start with this place, from this place of being impeccable towards ourselves, then this automatically drives how we are relating to everyone and everything around us. We won't use harmful words or actions towards others because we understand how that brings harm back to ourselves and how it perpetuates harm in the world. So to be impeccable with our word depends on a radical self-acceptance. one in which we are fully capable of being with our mistakes, our flaws, our imperfections, taking responsibility as needed, but without adding layers of blame and shame on top of that. It's also easy to misunderstand this idea of radical self acceptance in our culture. So I need to name what this is not. It is not the feel good, positive self esteem movement where you are constantly looking for some way to prop yourself up, usually compared to other people. This is instead being willing, being able to do that hard inventory of what's present. Learn to look at it fully, good, bad, ugly, whatever is here, and then be impeccable with how we treat ourselves and what actions we choose to manifest out of what is present. This brings to mind a sticker that one of my daughters used to have that I love. It was actually a quote from Amy Bloom. You are imperfect, permanently and inevitably flawed, and you are beautiful. This kind of self acceptance is strong enough to hold both sides of the flawed and the beautiful in the light without needing to shy away from either one. And then is strong enough to choose skillful actions based on whatever we are finding in that light. This is not an easy once and done kind of thing. Rather, it is an ongoing practice that we bit by bit get stronger in through a willingness to engage over and over with what it might mean to be impeccable with our word. So even though he doesn't specifically name this kind of self acceptance also involves a deep willingness to practice with letting go. It means we have to learn to let go of flawed self expectations, flawed demands, let go of images of who we want to be or who we think we should be, and exchange all of that for acceptance of who we are, perfectly flawed and beautiful. It also means letting go of expectations of how the world should treat us, how we think the world should be. And instead of wasting our energy on how we think things should be, we learn to reinvest, realign our energy instead with meeting each moment just as it is, just as it really is, with our best intention and best effort from a place of clear mind and strong heart. So, if we take on this kind of practice with our lives and ourselves and our relationship with everything around us, this does change the world that we create with our experience, the world we find ourselves existing in. And so it has a real depth of radical healing possibility. There's a reason I keep reading about this book in relationship with prison mindfulness work. It's a powerful possibility being offered. So there's one more point from the book that I want to name, and that is how Ruiz names a direct relationship between the emotional hurt we take in from others and the emotional hurt that we inflict upon ourselves. Ruiz says, the limit of your self-abuse is exactly the limit that you will tolerate from someone else. If someone abuses you a little more than you abuse yourself, you'll probably walk away from that person. But if someone abuses you a little less than you abuse yourself, then you will probably stay in the relationship and tolerate it endlessly. So, the more love, care, and acceptance we know how to offer ourselves, the more we know how to take all moments as opportunities for healing, regardless of the external or internal conditions. When we find ourselves in challenging conditions, it is simply useful to know how to direct ourselves towards good in our life. We'll close with the poem I shared in the meditation, The Logic of Love, Surrender. Actually, I've never been able to find the author. I don't know where this came from. The logic of love, surrender. If you cannot surrender yourself to the process of life, you are like a stream arguing with a rock. Do you think a river comes up to a rock and spends all of its time trying to move it? Of course not. The stream encompasses the rock. The rock becomes a feature of the stream. In time, the rock becomes smooth and all of its edges polished. The radiance in its structure is revealed. So let's pause and just sit for a moment. And if there was something that you heard that was particularly useful for you, allow yourself to touchstone it so that you can have it supporting your life moving forward. Thank you. So, before we end, I have just a couple of announcements, sharings. One is I am getting much better about posting the podcasts and the blogs. So if reading is better for you than listening, these Tuesday, Wednesday talks are getting posted each week now on our blog, on our website, www.ccmindful.org. You can just Google Charlotte Center for Mindfulness and we come up. If you want to download and listen later, not having to be attached to a computer, we have the the podcast postings now going on Google, Apple, and I think Stitcher. And I'm also working on how to get them just on the website each week. So I'm still kind of finagling with the technicalities of that, but I have a lot more of them up at this point. Um, the other thing I want to say is these offerings are always freely given. This is our mission of Charlotte Center for Mindfulness. How do we share the resources of mindfulness in our world in a way that opens up the possibility for healing for all of us? If you would like to make a donation to support our mission, we deeply appreciate it and appreciate it much from those of you who have already made sharings. The last thing I want to say is as we are tentatively moving towards a reopening, I just want to let people know that we're actively thinking, how are we in this new world? What does Charlotte Center for Mindfulness look like? Considering um, all of the needs for social distancing and whatnot that will still be present. So if you have any ideas, we're all ears. Some ideas that are going on is instead of meeting in our small room, when we can re-meet again, is maybe meet in a church fellowship hall that gives a lot more space. So I just want people to know it'll be a while. We'll probably phase 3 would be my guess. Um, but we are actively considering this and actively thinking, how do we also reach out into our community in other ways, considering the situations and the times. So appreciate y'all sharing in this with us. I'm going to post right now the Zoom link if you would like to join a Zoom link. And I'm going to take just a moment. It looks like a couple more people. Lakshmi, lovely to hear from you. Grateful for this meditation and community. Terry, grateful for sharing. Calls me to pause, and I hope I can continue to explore. Drew, grateful for these words of wisdom. I needed to hear this today. When I read the 4 agreements, I was so grateful for the way that he worded it. And it's just like shifting the lens just a bit in a way that shines a new light that's very helpful for me too. Thank you for a beautiful meditation this morning. Read from Nancy, read that book many years ago. Yeah. So if you have any interest, you might pull it back out. I can. If you would like to join in the Zoom room, we just meet for informal time to connect and talk about practice just a bit. I've put the link there, and we'll put it in the description box in just a moment. Once I close this live stream, I'll write it in the description box. If you can't get the link from the chat, just refresh your page. Refresh your page, and it should be on the description for this meeting. If you are moving on into the rest of your day from here, lovely practicing with you. And so we'll sit for just a moment for our closing. Finding the breath now, pausing again, feeling into whatever's present in your own body, mind, and heart. So if you were to practice in this moment, explore this agreement of being impeccable with your word, with your own self right now. What would that look like? What would you need to let go of? What might open? May I have compassion and understanding for myself just as I am, and compassion and understanding for all others just as they are too. May we all experience this joy and freedom. Thank you.